Jake Martinez wiped the sweat from his forehead as he finished repairing the broken engine on the cargo ship. It was another long day at Nexus Station, the small space station where he worked as a mechanic. The station sat at the edge of human space, far from Earth and the busy colonies. Most days were quiet, with only a few ships stopping for repairs or fuel. Jake loved his job. He understood machines better than most people understood other people. When something was broken, he could fix it. When systems failed, he found ways to make them work again. It made sense to him in a way that nothing else did. That evening, Jake received a strange message on his work computer. It was a distress signal from an old mining facility about 3 hours away by shuttle. The signal was weak and broken, but it seemed automated. Someone or something needed help. Jake looked around the empty repair bay. His supervisor had gone home hours ago. The night shift would not start for another few hours. He made a decision that would change his life forever. Jake took one of the station's small repair shuttles without asking permission. He told himself he would be back before anyone noticed. The shuttle was fast and well equipped with tools and emergency supplies. As he flew through space toward the mining facility, Jake wondered what he would find. The mining facility looked abandoned when Jake arrived. It was a large structure built into an asteroid with dark windows and no lights. The distress signal was coming from deep inside the facility. Jake docked his shuttle at an airlock and put on his spacesuit. The air inside might not be safe to breathe. Jake walked through empty corridors filled with dust and debris. The facility had been abandoned quickly. Tools were left where workers had dropped them. Computer screens still showed half-finished work reports. Something had made everyone leave in a hurry. The distress signal led Jake deeper into the facility, down to the mining levels. The corridors became wider as he went deeper. Strange markings covered the walls, symbols he had never seen before. They were not human writing. Jake followed the signal to a massive chamber carved out of the asteroid's core. What he saw there made him stop breathing for a moment. 2 enormous creatures hung suspended in the center of the chamber. They looked like dragons from old Earth stories, but these were real and huge. Each creature was the size of a small spaceship. Their scales were dark blue and silver, and their wings were folded against their bodies. Energy nets held them in place, glowing with a harsh white light. The dragons were alive, but barely. Jake could see their sides moving slowly as they breathed. The energy nets were draining their strength, slowly killing them. Machines around the chamber hummed quietly, powering the deadly trap. Jake should have left immediately. He should have called for help or reported what he found to the authorities. Instead, he moved closer to the trapped creatures. Their eyes were closed, but he could sense their pain and exhaustion. One of the dragons, slightly smaller than the other, opened its eyes as Jake approached. The eye was larger than Jake's head and colored like deep ocean water. Intelligence looked back at him, ancient and sad. The dragon was not just an animal. It was thinking and aware. Jake pulled out his tools and began examining the energy net system. The technology was far more advanced than anything humans had built. The control panels were covered with the same strange symbols he had seen in the corridors. But Jake understood machines, and all machines worked on similar principles. He found the power cables feeding the energy nets. They ran through complex junction boxes and transformers. Jake traced each connection carefully. If he made a mistake, he might electrocute himself or make the nets tighten around the dragons. Hours passed as Jake worked. He disconnected safety systems and rerouted power flows. Sweat filled his helmet as he crawled through access tunnels and climbed on dangerous machinery. The dragons watched him work with growing hope in their ancient eyes. Finally, Jake found the main control node. It was protected by multiple security systems, but Jake was patient. He bypassed each protection one by one. When he was ready, he took a deep breath and pulled the master disconnect. The energy nets flickered and died. The dragons fell gently to the chamber floor as the nets dissolved. They lay still for a moment, too weak to move after their long imprisonment. Slowly, the larger dragon lifted its head. It looked at Jake with eyes full of gratitude. The dragon stood on shaking legs and stretched its wings. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. The second dragon, smaller but more graceful, also rose. Both creatures looked at Jake for a long moment. Then they made sounds like deep music, beautiful and sad. Jake somehow understood they were saying thank you. The dragons moved toward a large opening in the chamber wall that led to open space. Before they left, each dragon touched Jake gently with the tip of one wing. The touch was warm and filled with something Jake could not describe. Then they flew away into the darkness between the stars. Jake stood alone in the empty chamber, wondering if he had dreamed the whole thing. But the broken machines around him proved it was real. He had saved two magnificent creatures from a slow death. Jake gathered his tools and returned to his shuttle. He did not tell anyone at the station what he had found. Who would believe such a story? Dragons were myths, not real creatures living in space. But as Jake flew back to Nexus Station, he kept thinking about those ancient eyes. The dragons had been intelligent, more intelligent than any animal he had ever seen. They had understood what he was doing and why he was helping them. Jake returned to his normal work, but everything felt different now. He had touched something magical and mysterious. He had made a choice to help when he could have walked away. That choice would soon bring consequences he never could have imagined. 3 days later, Jake would discover that saving the dragons was only the beginning of his adventure. 3 days passed since Jake saved the dragons, and he tried to focus on his normal work. He repaired broken engines, fixed computer systems, and maintained the station's equipment. But his mind kept returning to those massive creatures and their intelligent eyes. Jake was working alone in the outer repair dock, fixing a damaged cargo ship when something blocked out the stars outside the large window. He looked up from his work and nearly dropped his wrench. The two dragons floated in space just outside the dock. They were even more beautiful in the starlight than they had been in the dark chamber. Their scales reflected the light from nearby stars, creating patterns of silver and blue across their massive bodies. Jake stared at them through the window. The dragons stared back. After a moment, the larger dragon moved closer to the window. It placed one enormous claw gently against the transparent metal. Then Jake heard a voice in his mind. "Do not be afraid, Jake Martinez." The voice was deep and warm, like distant thunder or ocean waves. Jake stumbled backward, his heart racing. The dragon was speaking to him without making any sound. "You saved our lives," the voice continued. "We have come to thank you properly." Jake found his voice. "You can talk? We can do many things your species does not yet understand," said a second voice, lighter and younger than the first. "My name is Vex, my companion is Kirion. We are Draknari." Jake sat down heavily on a tool chest. Dragons were real, they could talk in his mind, and they knew his name. His world had just become much stranger. "How do you know my name?" Jake asked. "We have been watching your species for some time," Kirion replied. "You humans are fascinating. Most species would have left us to die rather than risk themselves for strangers." Vex moved closer to the window, but you did not hesitate. You saw suffering and chose to help. This makes you different. Jake looked around the empty repair dock. "Why are you here? What do you want from me?" "We want to warn you," Kirion said. "Your species is in great danger and you do not know it yet." The words sent a chill through Jake. "What kind of danger?" "There are older species in this galaxy," Vex explained. "They have ruled space for thousands of years. They do not like it when younger species become too strong or too independent." Kirion's mental voice became darker. "We were captured by servants of these elder species. They intended to use our life energy to power a terrible weapon, a weapon designed to destroy human worlds." Jake felt sick. Why would they want to destroy us? We have barely left our own solar system. "Because you humans are different from every other species we have encountered," Vex said with something like excitement in her voice. "You adapt faster than anyone thought possible. You solve problems in ways other species cannot imagine. You refuse to accept limitations. The elder species are afraid of what you might become," Kirion added. "They prefer to control younger races or eliminate them before they become threats." Jake stood up and walked to the window. The dragons waited patiently while he processed this information. "You said they captured you. Who are they?" "They call themselves the Zephyrians," Kirion replied. "They appear similar to humans but taller and with silver skin. They have controlled galactic politics for thousands of years through manipulation and fear." Vex's mental voice became urgent. "A fleet is coming toward human space. Your leaders think it is a diplomatic mission for first contact. But we know the truth. It is an invasion force designed to assess your defenses and destroy your ability to resist." Jake felt overwhelmed. "Why are you telling me this? I am just a mechanic. Nobody will believe me." "You are more than just a mechanic," Kirion said gently. "You have the courage to act when others would hesitate. You understand machines and technology better than most. and you have proven you can be trusted. We cannot reveal ourselves openly, Vex explained. If the elder species discover that Draknari are helping humans, they will hunt us down and destroy us. We are few in number and cannot fight them directly. Jake paced back and forth in front of the window. What can I do? Even if I could warn someone, who would listen to stories about talking dragons and alien invasions? We have been thinking about this problem, Kyrian said. There is someone in your military who might listen. Admiral Kate Sullivan of the Colonial Defense Force. She has a reputation for innovative thinking and listening to unusual reports. We can provide you with proof, Vex added. Technical specifications for Zephyrian weapons and ships. Your scientist will be able to verify that the technology is real and far beyond current human capabilities. Jake stopped pacing. How would I contact an admiral? I am just a repair technician on a remote station. We can help with that too, Kyrian said. We have communication technology that works faster than your methods. Quantum entanglement allows instant communication across any distance. Vex moved even closer to the window. But first you must decide if you trust us. What we are asking will change your life forever. There will be no going back to your quiet work once you become involved in this. Jake looked at the two magnificent creatures floating in space outside his workshop. 3 days ago he had made a choice to help them because it was the right thing to do. Now they were asking him to make another choice, one that could affect all of humanity. If I do nothing, what happens? Jake asked. The Zephyrian fleet will arrive in approximately 8 months, Kyrian replied. They will make contact with your leaders and offer technology and friendship. While your people celebrate first contact, the Zephyrians will study your defenses and capabilities. When they have learned enough, they will strike, Vex continued. Human colonies will be destroyed or enslaved. Your species will become servants to the elder races like so many others before you. Jake made his decision. What do I need to do? Both dragons seemed to relax. Meet us tomorrow night at the mining facility where you found us, Kyrian said. Come alone and tell no one where you are going. We will give you the communication device and the proof you need to convince Admiral Sullivan. Be careful, Jake Martinez, Vex added. The Zephyrians have agents watching human space. If they discover what we are doing, all of us will be in danger. The dragons began to move away from the window. Tomorrow night, Kyrian repeated. Thank you for choosing to help us again. Jake watched them disappear into the darkness between the stars. He was no longer just a mechanic fixing broken machines. He had become part of something much larger and more dangerous. Jake returned to his work, but his hands shook as he held his tools. In less than 24 hours, he would receive technology and information that could save humanity from destruction. The quiet life he had known was over. Tomorrow night would change everything. Jake arrived at the abandoned mining facility, just as he had promised. His hands were sweating inside his spacesuit gloves as he docked his shuttle. The empty corridors seemed more ominous now that he knew dangerous aliens were watching human space. The dragons were waiting for him in the same chamber where he had freed them. Kyrian and Vex looked much healthier now, their scales bright and their eyes alert. When Jake entered the chamber, both dragons lowered their massive heads in greeting. Thank you for coming, Kyrian said into Jake's mind. What we will show you tonight will be difficult to accept, but you must know the truth. Vex moved to a section of the chamber wall that Jake had not noticed before. She pressed her claw against a hidden panel, and the wall slid open to reveal a room filled with strange equipment. Holographic displays showed star charts and images Jake did not recognize. This facility was not built by the species that captured us, Kyrian explained as they entered the hidden room. It was built by another race, one that tried to resist the elder species centuries ago. They failed, but they left behind warnings and records. Jake stared at the alien technology around him. How long have you known about this place? We discovered it 50 years ago, Vex replied. We have been studying the records and watching events in the galaxy. That is how we learned about the threat to your species. Kyrian approached one of the holographic displays. With a touch of his claw, the display showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Different sections were marked in various colors. This map shows the true structure of galactic civilization, Kyrian said. Each color represents territory controlled by different elder species. They have divided the galaxy among themselves like ancient kings dividing a kingdom. Jake saw that the colored sections covered most of the galaxy. Only small areas remained unmarked. Where is human space on this map? Vex touched another control and a tiny red dot appeared near the edge of one unmarked section. That is Earth and your colonies. You exist in a gap between the territories of two elder species. The Zephyrians control the largest territory, Kyrian continued. They have done this by absorbing or destroying younger species for thousands of years. Any race that shows independence or potential becomes a target. The display changed to show historical records. Jake watched images of beautiful worlds and advanced civilizations. Then the images showed the same worlds burning or empty. These species all made the same mistake, Vex explained sadly. They trusted the elder races when they offered friendship and technology. By the time they realized the truth, it was too late to resist. Jake felt cold despite his heated suit. How many species have they destroyed? Hundreds, Kyrian replied. Some were absorbed as servant races and still exist, but they have no freedom or independence. Others refused to submit and were completely eliminated. The display showed new images that made Jake's heart race. Massive ships unlike anything humans had built, moved through space in perfect formations. The ships were elegant but clearly designed for war. The Zephyrian fleet approaching your space, Vex said. 47 ships carrying enough firepower to destroy every human world in days. Jake watched the alien ships on the display. They moved with a grace that human ships could not match. Our defenses would not stop them. Your weapons and shields are designed for fighting other humans, Kyrian explained. The Zephyrians have technologies that can disable your ships without firing a shot. They have done this to countless species before yours. The holographic display changed again, showing what looked like a council chamber. Tall figures with silver skin and elongated features sat around a curved table. Jake knew he was looking at the Zephyrians. This is a recording from their recent council meeting, Vex said. We obtained it through sources we cannot reveal without endangering them. Jake listened to the alien voices speaking in their own language. Subtitles appeared in human writing, translated by the Dragon technology. The human infestation has spread to 17 worlds, one Zephyrian was saying. Their expansion rate exceeds all projections. They must be contained before they develop technologies that could threaten our interests. Another Zephyrian spoke. Their military capabilities remain primitive, but their adaptability is concerning. They solve problems through improvisation, rather than following established procedures. This makes them unpredictable. A third alien joined the conversation. The assessment fleet will make contact in 8 months. We will offer them membership in the galactic community, while our agents study their weaknesses. Once we understand their society, we can decide whether to enslave or eliminate them. The recording ended, leaving Jake staring at the empty display. The casual way the Zephyrians discussed destroying humanity made him feel sick. Why do they fear us so much? Jake asked. We have barely learned to travel between stars. Because you are different from every other species they have encountered, Kyrian said with something like pride in his mental voice. Most races follow predictable patterns of development. They specialize in certain technologies and become dependent on other species for what they cannot create themselves. Vex moved closer to Jake. Humans refuse to accept limitations. When faced with a problem, you find new solutions instead of following established methods. You adapt your technology and tactics faster than anyone thought possible. We have been watching your species for 200 years, Kyrian continued. In that time, you have gone from primitive chemical rockets to faster-than-light travel. You have colonized 17 worlds and built space stations like the one where you work. Most species take thousands of years to achieve such progress. Jake thought about his own work as a mechanic. He often fixed machines by combining parts in ways the original designers had never intended. It was a source of pride that he could make anything work, even when he did not have the proper equipment. The elder species maintain control by making younger races dependent on their technology, Vex explained. They offer advanced tools and weapons, but never the knowledge to build or improve them. Eventually, the younger species cannot survive without their patron's support. But humans do not follow this pattern, Kyrian added. When you receive new technology, you immediately begin studying it, improving it, and creating variations the original designers never imagined. This terrifies the elder species. The holographic display showed more images of human colonies and ships. Jake recognized some of the designs, but others looked more advanced than anything he had seen. These are human developments that the Zephyrians do not know about yet, Vex said. Hidden research projects and experimental technologies. Your species has been preparing for the possibility of hostile contact without realizing it. Jake studied the images with growing hope. Are you saying we might be able to fight them? Not alone, Kyrian replied honestly. But you have something the elder species have forgotten. You have the ability to make allies across species barriers. Your act of saving us proves this. Vex activated another display that showed different alien species Jake did not recognize. There are others who have grown tired of elder species dominance. Some serve the elder races but dream of freedom. Others hide in the dark spaces between territories. Many species have been waiting for someone to stand up to the elder races, Kyrian continued. But they lack the courage or the capability to act alone. Humans might be the catalyst that finally breaks the cycle of domination. Jake looked at the wealth of information surrounding him. Technical specifications, star charts, communication frequencies, and battle records from thousands of years of galactic history. It was overwhelming and terrifying and amazing all at once. What happens now? Jake asked. Now you must decide if you are willing to warn your species and help them prepare. Vex replied. We will give you a communication device that can reach Earth instantly. You will also receive technical data that will prove to your leaders that the threat is real. Kyrian moved to a storage compartment and removed a device the size of Jake's fist. It looked like a crystal surrounded by metal rings. This communicator will allow you to contact Admiral Sullivan directly. The technical specifications are stored in its memory. Jake took the device carefully. It was warm to the touch and hummed with barely contained energy. Will this be enough to convince them? The technical data includes details about weapons and engines that your science cannot yet explain, Vex said. Your experts will recognize that it comes from a source far more advanced than anything humans have developed. But convincing your leaders is only the first step, Kyrian warned. If you choose this path, you will become a target. The Zephyrians have agents throughout human space. They will try to stop you once they realize what you are doing. Jake held the alien communicator and thought about his quiet life as a mechanic. In a few hours, he could return to Nexus Station and pretend this conversation had never happened. He could go back to fixing engines and living a simple, safe life. But he thought about the images of destroyed civilizations and the casual way the Zephyrians had discussed eliminating humanity. He thought about all the people on Earth and the colonies who had no idea what was coming. Jake made his choice. Tell me how to use this device. Jake returned to Nexus Station with the alien communicator hidden in his tool bag. His hands shook as he sat in his small quarters staring at the crystal device. Everything the dragons had told him seemed impossible, but the communicator proved it was real. He had never spoken to an admiral before. Jake was just a repair technician on a remote station. Why would someone so important listen to him? But lives depended on getting this message through. Jake activated the device according to Kyrian's instructions. The crystal began to glow with soft blue light and symbols appeared in the air above it. After a few moments, a woman's voice came from the device. This is Admiral Kate Sullivan. Who is using this communication frequency? How did you obtain this technology? Jake took a deep breath. Admiral Sullivan, my name is Jake Martinez. I am a mechanic at Nexus Station. I have information about a threat to human space that you need to hear. There was a long pause. Mr. Martinez, this frequency is supposed to be impossible to access with current human technology. How are you contacting me? That is part of what I need to tell you, Jake replied. A few days ago, I encountered two alien creatures who warned me about an invasion fleet heading toward Earth. They gave me this communicator and information that proves the threat is real. Another pause. Jake could hear other voices in the background. Mr. Martinez, are you claiming to have made contact with aliens? Yes, Admiral. I know how it sounds, but I have technical specifications for their weapons and ships. Your scientists can verify that the technology is beyond anything humans have developed. Send me the data, Admiral Sullivan said after a moment. If this is a hoax, you will face serious consequences. If it is real, then we have little time to prepare. Jake activated the data transfer function on the communicator. Information flowed through the quantum link, faster than any human technology could transmit. The data is coming through now. Please have your best scientists examine it immediately. Mr. Martinez, stay on this frequency. Do not discuss this communication with anyone else. If what you are telling me is true, then both our lives may be in danger. Jake waited for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. He could hear Admiral Sullivan talking quietly with other people. Occasionally, he caught words like impossible and decades ahead of us. Finally, Admiral Sullivan returned to the communicator. Mr. Martinez, our top scientists have examined the data you sent. The weapons specifications describe technology that operates on principles we barely understand. The engine designs could revolutionize space travel. This information could not have been created by any human source. Jake felt relief wash over him. So you believe me? I believe the data is real, Admiral Sullivan replied carefully. That means we must take the threat seriously. Can you contact your alien sources again? Yes, Admiral. They are waiting for my response. Tell them that humanity accepts their warning and their offer of alliance. Ask them what we can do to prepare for this invasion. Jake activated the long-range function on the communicator. Within moments, Kirion's mental voice filled his mind. Jake, have you spoken with your military leader? Yes, Admiral Sullivan believes the data you provided. She wants to know how humanity can prepare for the Zephyrian attack. Excellent. Vex's voice joined the conversation. We have been working on this problem since we last spoke. There are things your species can do to improve your chances of survival. Kirion continued the explanation. The Zephyrians rely on certain assumptions about how other species fight. They expect predictable tactics and standardized equipment. Humans can use their adaptability to create unexpected countermeasures. Jake relayed this information to Admiral Sullivan, who was listening on the communicator. Admiral, they say that the aliens expect us to fight in predictable ways. We can surprise them by using human creativity and adaptability. What specific countermeasures do they recommend? Admiral Sullivan asked. Jake passed the question to the dragons. Vex responded immediately. First, your ships are too standardized. The Zephyrians have weapons designed to disable human-style engines and shields. You need to create variations that work on different principles. Second, Kirion added, you need to establish hidden bases and supply depots. The Zephyrians will target your known colonies and military installations first. You must be prepared to continue fighting even after they destroy your main bases. Jake repeated these suggestions to Admiral Sullivan. He could hear her giving orders to other people in the background. The human military was already beginning to mobilize. There is something else, Vex said with excitement in her mental voice. We have contacted other species who oppose the elder races. Some of them are willing to help humanity if you prove you can resist the Zephyrians. What kind of help? Jake asked. Technology, supplies, and strategic information, Kirion replied. But they will only reveal themselves if humans show they can fight effectively. No one wants to support a losing cause. Jake shared this news with Admiral Sullivan. Admiral, the dragons have allies among other alien species. They are willing to help us, but only if we prove we can put up a real fight. Tell them we will fight, Admiral Sullivan said grimly. Humanity has never backed down from a challenge, and we will not start now. Over the following days, Jake became the primary communication link between humanity and its new alien allies. The dragons provided detailed intelligence about Zephyrian tactics and technology. Human scientists worked frantically to develop countermeasures and new weapons. Jake found himself at the center of a growing resistance network. The dragons introduced him to representatives of other species through encrypted communications. There was Zorak, a reptilian engineer whose people had been enslaved by the Zephyrians centuries ago. There was Captain Lin of the Astari, a bird-like species that had been hiding in asteroid fields for generations. Each new ally brought unique technologies and capabilities. Zorak's people provided armor plating that could resist Zephyrian energy weapons. The Astari shared stealth technology that could hide ships from enemy sensors. Other species contributed medical supplies, rare materials, and tactical knowledge. But the alliance was fragile. Everyone was taking enormous risks by opposing the elder species. If the Zephyrians discovered the resistance network, they would hunt down every member and destroy their worlds. Jake learned to live with constant fear. Zephyrian agents were everywhere, watching for signs of unusual activity. He had to be careful about every message he sent and every person he spoke with. His simple life as a mechanic was gone forever. 3 months after his first contact with Admiral Sullivan, Jake received disturbing news. Kirion contacted him with urgent information. Jake, we have detected Zephyrian scout ships near human space. They are investigating the mining facility where we first met. Someone has told them about unusual activity in that area. Jake felt cold. Do they know about our alliance? Not yet, but they are suspicious. We must assume that they know something is happening. The timeline for their invasion may be moved up. Jake immediately contacted Admiral Sullivan with this news. The Admiral's response was swift and decisive. "Mr. Martinez, tell your allies that humanity is ready to fight now if necessary. We have been preparing for this moment. Our colonies are armed, our fleets are mobilized, and our people are united." Jake was amazed at how quickly humanity had adapted to the threat. In just 3 months, the entire human civilization had transformed itself from a peaceful collection of colonies into a military force ready for interstellar war. "There is one more thing," Vex said during their next conversation. "Kyrian and I have decided to fight openly alongside humanity. We are tired of hiding in the darkness while others suffer under elder species oppression." "Are you sure?" Jake asked. "If the Zephyrians see you helping us, they will hunt your people." "Our people are already scattered and hidden," Kyrian replied. "We have survived by avoiding attention for centuries, but perhaps it is time to take a stand. Your species has shown us that courage can overcome fear." Jake smiled as he relayed this news to Admiral Sullivan. The dragons had been inspired by human determination and were willing to risk everything for the cause of freedom. "Admiral Sullivan wants to meet with you in person," Jake told the dragons. "She is coming to Nexus Station aboard the flagship Defiance. She says it is time for the formal leaders of this alliance to speak face to face." "We will be honored to meet her," Kyrian replied. "But Jake, you should know that the Zephyrians will not wait much longer. Our sources indicate that their main fleet is accelerating toward human space. The invasion will begin within days, not months." Jake felt his stomach tighten. All their preparation time was running out. Soon the Alliance would face its first real test against an enemy that had conquered countless worlds. But as Jake looked around Nexus Station, he saw signs of the changes that had swept through human space. New weapons were mounted on the station's hull. Alien technology hummed quietly in hidden chambers. Representatives from a dozen species moved through the corridors in secret. Humanity was no longer alone in the galaxy. The alliance Jake had helped create was ready to fight for freedom against an enemy that had ruled through fear for thousands of years. The war was about to begin. Admiral Kate Sullivan arrived at Nexus Station aboard the Defiance, humanity's newest and most powerful warship. Jake watched through the observation deck windows as the massive vessel docked with the station. The ship was beautiful and deadly, built with technology that combined human engineering with alien innovations. Jake met Admiral Sullivan in the station's main conference room. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. When she shook Jake's hand, her grip was firm and confident. "Mr. Martinez, you have done more for humanity in the past few months than most people do in a lifetime," Admiral Sullivan said. "Your courage in contacting us has given our species a chance to survive." "I just did what felt right," Jake replied. "The dragons deserve to be saved, and humanity deserved to be warned." "Your alien friends chose their human representative well," Admiral Sullivan said with a smile. "Now let us meet these dragons, who have become our allies." Jake led Admiral Sullivan to the same docking bay where he had first spoken with Kyrian and Vex. The two dragons were waiting in space outside the transparent walls. They looked magnificent against the backdrop of stars, their scales glowing with reflected light from the station. "Admiral Sullivan," Kyrian said into both their minds, "we are honored to meet the leader of human resistance." "The honor is mine," Admiral Sullivan replied aloud. "Your people have risked everything to help us. Humanity will not forget such friendship." Vex moved closer to the window. "We bring news that will concern you. Our scouts report that the Zephyrian fleet has reached the edge of your solar system. They will make contact with Earth within 72 hours. Admiral Sullivan nodded grimly. "Our deep space sensors detected them yesterday. A fleet of 47 ships, just as you predicted. They are broadcasting messages of peace and friendship." "Do not believe their words," Kyrian warned. "The Zephyrians are masters of deception. They will offer gifts and technology while their agents study your weaknesses." "We know," Admiral Sullivan said. "Thanks to your warnings, Earth's government is prepared. President Carter will meet with them and pretend to welcome their offer of alliance. Meanwhile, our real preparations continue in secret." Jake was amazed at how much had changed in the months since his first contact with the dragons. Every human colony now had hidden weapons and shield generators built with alien technology. Human ships had been modified with unpredictable variations that would confuse enemy targeting systems. "What of the other resistance members?" Vex asked. "Are they ready to fight?" Admiral Sullivan activated a holographic display that showed the local region of space. Dozens of red dots marked the positions of hidden allies. Zorak's people have positioned supply ships throughout the outer colonies. The Astari have cloaked scouts watching every major space route. 6 other species have committed ships and equipment to our cause. Excellent, Kyrian said with satisfaction. The Zephyrians expect to face only human forces. They have no idea how many allies you have gathered. Over the next 2 days, Jake watched as final preparations were completed. The Defiance took on supplies and equipment from hidden sources. Dragon technology was integrated into human weapons systems. Messages flew between Resistance members across the galaxy. On the 3rd day, the Zephyrian fleet reached Earth. Jake watched the first contact ceremony through a secure communication link. The alien ships were beautiful and graceful, designed to inspire awe rather than fear. Their leader, Ambassador Zalak, appeared on screens around human space. Zalak looked almost human, but taller and more elegant, with silver skin and large eyes. His voice was smooth and reassuring as he spoke of friendship between species and the benefits of joining the galactic community. The people of Earth are invited to become members of the Galactic Council, Zalak announced. We offer advanced technology, protection from hostile forces, and guidance as you expand into the galaxy. President Carter responded with appropriate gratitude and wonder. To anyone watching, it seemed like humanity's greatest dream was coming true. First contact with friendly aliens who offered peace and prosperity. But Jake knew the truth. The Zephyrians were studying human reactions and defenses. Their sensors were mapping every human installation and counting every ship. Soon they would report back to their leaders that humanity was defenseless and ready for conquest. The deception is working perfectly, Admiral Sullivan told Jake as they watched the ceremony. Let them think we are naive and unprepared. When they reveal their true intentions, we will be ready. 3 weeks passed while the Zephyrians maintained their friendly facade. They visited human colonies and offered demonstrations of their technology. Human scientists pretended to be amazed by devices that were already being mass-produced in hidden factories. Then Kyrian contacted Jake with urgent news. The Zephyrian Council has made their decision. The invasion fleet is moving toward human space. They plan to strike in 5 days. Jake immediately informed Admiral Sullivan. Within hours, coded messages went out to every human colony and Resistance member. The time for pretending was over. The war was about to begin. On the day before the invasion, Jake stood on the bridge of the Defiance as it took position near Earth. Around them, the combined human fleet prepared for battle. Ships from dozens of colonies had answered the call to defend their species' homeworld, but the human fleet was not alone. Dragon-class fighters flew alongside human destroyers. Astari stealth ships provided reconnaissance while Zorak engineering vessels maintained equipment with alien efficiency. Species that had hidden in fear for centuries were finally ready to fight for their freedom. Are you afraid? Admiral Sullivan asked Jake as they watched the alien fleet approach. Terrified, Jake admitted, but also excited. We are about to do something no other species has managed. We are going to stand up to the elder races and show them that younger species will not be bullied anymore. Vex contacted Jake through their mental link. The Zephyrian fleet is dropping out of faster-than-light travel. 47 ships as predicted, but they have been reinforced with vessels from 2 other elder species. How many total? Jake asked. 68 ships, Kyrian replied grimly. They are not taking any chances with humanity. Jake relayed this information to Admiral Sullivan. The Admiral smiled coldly. Let them come. They expect to face 23 human ships with primitive weapons. Instead, they will face 47 human vessels equipped with the best technology from a dozen species, plus 38 alien ships they do not even know exist. The Zephyrian fleet approached Earth with the confidence of predators who had never faced real resistance. Their elegant ships moved in perfect formations, broadcasting messages demanding humanity's immediate surrender. People of Earth. Ambassador Zalak's voice filled every human communication channel. You have been deceived by hostile forces. Surrender now and accept our protection, or face the consequences of resistance. President Carter's response was broadcast throughout human space and to the hidden resistance fleet. Ambassador Zalak, humanity rejects your demands. We choose freedom over slavery, and we are prepared to fight for it. The Zephyrian ships immediately changed formation, revealing weapons that had been hidden behind peaceful facades. Energy beams lanced out toward Earth's orbital defenses, expecting to find them helpless against superior technology. Instead, The beams struck shields that held firm. Human defensive platforms, upgraded with Dragon technology and Astari stealth fields, returned fire with weapons the Zephyrians had never seen before. All ships. "This is Admiral Sullivan," came the command that Jake had been waiting to hear. "Engage the enemy. Show them what happens when they threaten humanity." The human fleet moved to attack with coordination that surprised the Zephyrians. These were not the disorganized primitives they had expected. Human ships fought with the tactics of a dozen different species, using technologies the elder races thought were impossible. But the real shock came when the hidden resistance fleet decloaked around the Zephyrian formation. Dragonfire and Astari plasma cannons joined human missiles in a devastating assault. Species that the Zephyrians thought were extinct or enslaved revealed that they had been preparing for this moment for generations. Jake watched from the defiance as the battle raged around Earth. The elegant Zephyrian ships were no longer confident predators. They were being hunted by an alliance they had never imagined could exist. "The smaller Zephyrian ships are retreating," reported the tactical officer. "The larger vessels are trying to regroup, but our allied forces are disrupting their formations." Admiral Sullivan turned to Jake with a fierce smile. "Mr. Martinez, would you please send a message to all resistance forces? Tell them that humanity is proud to fight alongside them for the freedom of all species." Jake activated his communicator and sent the message through the quantum network the dragons had provided. Across the battlefield, alien voices responded with war cries in a dozen different languages. The sound was beautiful and terrifying. The battle continued for 6 hours. When it ended, half of the Zephyrian fleet had been destroyed or captured. The surviving ships fled toward Elder Species territory, carrying news that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. For the first time in thousands of years, the Elder Species had been defeated in open battle.